What? America wins the American Revolution and starts their own government? Incredible! Their government was called the Articles of Confederation, and that's gonna be your first note card, baby. Please take out a note card, a blank one, and let's write it up. Let's talk about this Articles of Confederation, the first form of government in the United States of America. All right, so title this card, Articles of Confederation. Hey, you're working hard. Man, that's a lot of stuff to write. Maybe you want to just write AOC, whatever. As long as you know we're talking about the articles, that works for me. All right, now, the American colonists, and now we'll call them the Americans, they viewed Great Britain as being incredibly strong. So they wanted to set up a very weak government, and they did that in the Articles of Confederation. Here we go. Please write America's first form of government created a very weak national government. Now think about this. If you create a weak national government, somebody's got to get that power. You took away from the national government, so the states got it. Most of the power went to all of the states, the first 13 states in the United States. So, weak, 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 weak. Note that the Articles of Confederation are very weak. Some more details. You know, there was one branch of government. Today we have 3 branches of government. Today we have the executive, legislative, and the judicial. Then they only had the legislative branch. They had no power to tax. That is so important. You know, one of the issues with Great Britain was the taxation problem. No taxation without representation. Well, they're still concerned about it. They don't want the national government to have that power. Also, no power to regulate interstate commerce. So if there's issues between the states about business, the Articles of Confederation cannot do anything about it. Or to issue a common national currency. There was no common national currency with the Articles of Confederation. All right, so we got weak government. It didn't work out at all. The founding fathers got together and decided we needed to form a new government. We need to form a constitution. So let's talk about that constitution. New note card, please write George Washington at Constitutional Convention. Yes, they had a constitutional convention. They needed a president. They needed the man. They needed el hombre. So they picked George Washington. You got that title? You ready? Here we go. Okay, just like I was saying. First of all, please put served as president of the Constitutional Convention. He gave the event credibility. Just by being there, it mattered. He was the president. Just like he'll be the first president of the United States, he was the president of the Constitutional Convention. You know, he didn't talk that much. Seldom, meaning not a lot, seldom participated. But his presence was important because he lent his enormous prestige. Please write lent, L-E-N-T. That's a little typo. He lent his enormous prestige. You know, sometimes some people are so important that once they show up to an event, that event has credibility. That's what George Washington had. He had, what's the expression you could say? Swag. And he had a lot of it. He had a copious amount of prestige. That's why he needed to be the president of the Constitutional Convention, even though he didn't really participate that much, okay? Got that one? Let's do another one. Let's do another one, baby. The Great Compromise. Please put the Great Compromise. All right, real quick, check this out. There was a plan that the big states liked. It was called the Virginia Plan. James Madison wrote it. It had 3 branches of government, but they were fighting over the legislative branch, Congress. Like, you know, who gets more power? Big states, small states. How do you decide? Well, the Virginia Plan said 2 houses, both based off population. More people, more power. That's why the big states liked it. The small states didn't like that. They liked the New Jersey Plan, which only had 1 house in their legislative branch, and it was equal between states. All states got the same. So we've got to fight. We got to fight. We need a compromise. We don't need just any compromise. We need a great compromise. Here it is. Please write this. Solved issues between small states and large states over proper representation in the legislative branch. That's so important. Because we're not talking about the executive branch. Nobody really has a huge issue with the executive branch. And we're not talking about the judicial branch. People are okay with that too. It is the legislative branch that the big states and the small states are fighting over. Created a bicameral legislature. That's really fancy, but it's a simple word. It just means 2 houses. There's 2 different parts of the legislative branch. 1 house is based off population. You got more people, you get more power. You get more representatives. That's why it's the House of Representatives. And the other one is based off statehood. That's the Senate. Every state is exactly the same. Every state gets 2 senators in the Senate. So, in that way, the small states are happy, but the big states were happy because they got the House of Representatives. So, everybody's kind of happy, which is a win-win. And that's the great compromise. Feeling good, 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 awesome, love it, love it, love it, love it. Let's do another one. I think this is our last one, then we're going to do a little quiz diddly. Please put the 3/5 compromise. The 3/5 compromise. This was an ugly compromise that came out of the Constitutional Convention over the issue of slavery. So think about this. Let's say there's 100,000 slaves in Virginia. How do you count them? Do you count them for representation? You know, remember, more people, more power. So do you want them to? Well, the South says, yeah, we're counting them. That means we get more power. The North says, you ain't counting them. You don't give them any rights at all. Why should you get to count them so you can have more power in Congress? So let's write this down. Compromise over how to count slaves for representation. And then in parentheses, please write House of Representatives. This is important. It has nothing to do with the Senate. The Senate, every state gets exactly the same. It's in the House of Representatives that if you have more people, you have more power. That is where the fight of the 3/5 compromise is taking place. Cool? Hey, 3 of every 5 slaves would be counted towards the population. That's why it's called the 3/5 compromise. So if you got 5 slaves, you count 3. You got 10 slaves, you count 6. Same thing. 3/5 of the population would be counted. So the South didn't love it, but they were happy enough with it because at least they got some representation. And of course, the struggle for rights for enslaved African Americans will continue and continue up until the Civil War. All right. We did a couple note cards, man. You ready to do a quiz? Hey, I'm ready to do a quiz. I want to set, I'm thinking this will be a 2-minute guide. Take 2 minutes to study these cards. And what should we listen to when we're done with our 2 minutes? Do you want to listen to, what about ripples? That is just truly beautiful. We'll listen to ripples. You pause me right now. I'll be reading the definitive history of the American Revolution. The movements and designs of the enemy are not yet understood. Washington reported to John. Are we doing this thing? Okay, let's just do it then. Take out a piece of paper. Hey, we're number at the 4. Number at 1. Number at 2. Number at 3. Number at 4. All right, now, I'm just going to throw some questions up there. Just write what you think the answers are. Here we go, number 1. Under the Articles of Confederation, the national government was weak. Who did have the power? Who did have the power under the Articles of Confederation? It wasn't the national government. So who did? Got that one? Good, great, awesome, love it. Let's do another one. Here we go. What was the name of the compromise which solved the issue over the proper representation in the legislative branch? That compromise, you know, it created a bicameral legislature, one house based off population, House of Representatives, one house based off equality between states, the Senate. What was the name for that compromise? What was it called? Cool. Number 3. Who was the president of the Constitutional Convention? I'll give you a hint. He had an enormous amount of prestige. And he didn't talk a lot while he was there. And he was a guy. Number 4. Number 4, number 4, number 4. Which branch of government was impacted by the 3/5 compromise? Like, where did it apply to? Was that in the executive? Was that in the legislative? Or was that in the judicial branch? Cool. Got your answer? Love it. All right, let's go over this. Number 1, under the Articles of Confederation, the national government was weak. Who did have the power? Well, if the national government doesn't have the power, the states do. The answer to number 1 is the states. Number 2, what was the name of the compromise which solved the issue over the proper representation in the legislative branch? That would be the Great Compromise. It was so important. It was called the Great Compromise. It created a bicameral legislature, the House of Reps and the Senate. Number 3, who was the president of the Constitutional Convention? George Washington. Didn't participate a lot, but lent his enormous prestige. Or which branch of government was impacted by the Three-Fifths Compromise? It's the legislative branch. But wait. For a bonus, was it in the Senate or in the House of Representatives? And the answer is the House. You got that right? Hey, great job. 5 on the computer. Yes, because the House means representation, like count your people, get your power. So the question is, well, how do we count these slaves? Cool. Hey, let's do some more note cards. Here's one. Jimmy Madison. Please put down James Madison. Let's talk about him, man. He was such a big deal at the Constitutional Convention. He deserves a note card. All right. Number 1, he's called the father of the Constitution. That makes you wonder, who's the mother of the Constitution? Because he strongly influenced the shape of the Constitution. You know, he didn't write all of it himself, but his ideas were so important that he was like the guiding mind behind the Constitution. So he's the father of the Constitution. We give him that credit, right? When they first showed up at the Constitutional Convention, no one really knew, like, what are we going to do? Like, where should we start? James Madison wrote the Virginia Plan, which was their starting point. And yes, they changed it a little bit with the Great Compromise, but it still is a lot like our government today. It has 3 branches. It has a bicameral legislature. So let's put that down. He wrote the Virginia Plan, which is the foundation for the structure of the U.S. government today. The VA plan is a lot like our government today. See, and that's like relates to the first point, that he strongly influenced the shape of the Constitution. Not saying he wrote the whole thing, but his ideas were so important to shape what the Constitution is, right? Hey, and he also took copious, that's a vocab word, which means a lot. He took a lot of notes at the Constitutional Convention. We know what happened there because of the notes he took. And later he wrote the Bill of Rights, which we'll talk about that in about 2 note cards, I think. You know, more evidence of him being the father of the Constitution. All right, are we good with that one? Ready for the next one? Here we go. Please write the... Oh, the Bill of Rights are here already. Please write the Bill of Rights. Let's talk about the B-O-R. You ready? Here we go. Hey, written by James Madison, he wrote the Bill of Rights. It was designed to please the anti-federalist by protecting individual rights. Woo! We're going to talk about the anti-federalists soon. But let me just say this. They were really afraid of the Constitution because they thought you strengthen the national government, you take away individual rights. So Jimmy Madison says, hey, I want you to feel good. I'm going to write the Bill of Rights to make you happy. The anti-federalist demanded the Bill of Rights. Say that with me one more time. Say it out loud. The anti-federalist demanded the Bill of Rights. Demanded them protect individual freedoms. Okay? You know, he didn't just write them all himself. Like, he got the ideas from other folks. Madison consulted George Mason's Virginia Declaration of Rights. Now, what did that do? It reiterated that basic human rights should not be violated. It was a list of rights that individuals should have, which the government should not take away. It had all sorts of rights that we see in our Bill of Rights. It didn't have anything about religion. And Madison knew he needed something about religion. But it's got a tremendous amount of individual rights: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, right to keep and bear arms, rights against search and seizure, unnecessary search and seizure. George Mason is the Virginia Declaration of Rights. So who's the religion bill that the Bill of Rights goes after? That is the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedoms, written by Thomas Jefferson. Last one. And Jefferson's Virginia Statute for Religious Freedoms. What did that do? It outlawed government support for one favored church. You know, at that, well, I guess to say, when they were under the colonial rule of Great Britain, there was an official church. It's the Church of England, baby. And your tax dollars go to the Church of England. Hey, you might not be Anglican, but you got to pay the money anyway. Thomas Jefferson says in the United States, we're going to have freedom of religion, which means no established church. We're going to outlaw government support for one favorite church. That's the Bill of Rights, written by Madison, protecting individual rights, demanded by the anti-federalists, borrowing the ideas of Mason and Jefferson. Cool. All right, I kind of hinted at these groups. Let's talk about the Federalists. New card. Please write down Federalists. You know, when they wrote this Constitution, It wasn't like everybody wanted it. Well, some people did, some people didn't. The Federalists certainly wanted it. The Anti-Federalists didn't. Let's talk about the Federalists. You know, they believed in a stronger national government to promote economic development. They wanted the economy to do well. The economy was not doing well, and the Articles of Confederation couldn't do anything, so they wanted a strong government to fix a lot of the economic problems in the United States. Issues over debt, issues over interstate commerce. That's what the Federalists believed. Hey, the leading Virginia Federalists, two dudes, George Washington and James Madison. You know why they're Federalists? Because Washington was the president of the Constitutional Convention, so of course he's going to want the Constitution to be ratified. He's going to want that stronger government under the Constitution. James Madison was a Federalist because he strongly shaped the document. He was the father of the Constitution. So he is going to want to have the Constitution ratified, okay? All right, let's throw this one out here, last one. Write this down. Similar to liberal Americans today, in that they view the role of the national government in solving major problems. Hey, I'm not telling you that the Federalists and liberals today are like exactly the same. I guess what I'm just trying to say is, in 1787, the Federalists wanted a stronger government. And in 2000 and whatever, today, the liberals tend to want bigger government. And in that way, they're kind of similar. It's like the fact that, you know, folks always argue over the size of government, you know? Cool. Awesome. Love it. Good, great, awesome. Let's go to the next one. Hey, let's go to the opposite one. Let's go to the Anti-Federalists. Please put down the Anti-Federalists, Anti-Federalists, Anti-Feds. Do another note card for these guys. All right. Here we go. They were concerned, / they were against the new Constitution because they feared it would take away individual and states' rights, which is why they only would agree to it, or some of them eventually agree to it, if they got the Bill of Rights. That is why the Bill of Rights and the Anti-Federalists are so important. Very good. Here we go. Demanded the Bill of Rights would be added to the Constitution. You got that one down already earlier. We'll get that one down again. Cool. And last one. Kind of like conservatives today, in that they argued for a smaller government and individual / states' rights. Same thing. Hey, I'm not telling you that they're exactly the same. I'm just telling you that today, conservatives generally argue for smaller government, and in 1787, the Anti-Federalists didn't want a big government. They wanted smaller government too. So you can just see that Americans like to argue over the size of government. All right, we got the Anti-Federalists, we got the Federalists, we got the Bill of Rights, we got James Madison. Oh, no. We're putting one more thing in for the Anti-Federalists. Today, Virginia Anti-Federalists then would be Patrick Henry and George Mason. Patrick Henry, who said, "Give me liberty or give me death," is not going to want a stronger government. George Mason, who wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights, is going to demand individual rights and doesn't like a stronger government that might take away individual rights. Good? Cool. Now it's quiz time, baby. Hey, we did a lot, man. Those cards are popping. There's too much information. We're definitely doing 2 minutes. Hey, maybe 3. We're going to listen to playtime. Love it. Love it. Hey, you'll be pausing me and studying, and I'll be reading The Definitive History of the American Revolution. Great. Excellent. Let's do a quiz. Come on. Take out a piece of paper. Let's number it 1, number it 2, number it 3, number it 4. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Here comes the questions. Here we go. What plan did James Madison write which strongly shaped the Constitution? What was the name of his plan? It looks like our government today, not exactly, but sort of. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2, number 2, number 2. Which 2 documents influenced James Madison? Or which ones did he consult when writing the Bill of Rights? So here's the question. 2's worded a little weird. The question is, What two documents did James Madison use to write the Bill of Rights? Okay, he relied on two documents. What were they? What were they? Nice, 3. List one leading Federalist from Virginia. Virginia had some Federalists. List one for me. I want a name. Give me a name. Sweet. Number 4, what did the Anti-Federalists demand James Madison include in the Constitution? The Anti-Federalists demanded James Madison would include something in the Constitution. What was it they demanded? Beautiful. Love it. Let's go. Hey, number 1, what plan did James Madison write which strongly shaped the Constitution? Well, it was named after his home state. It was the Virginia Plan. Remember, Madison did not write the entire Constitution himself, but he strongly influenced the shape of it too. Which two documents influenced James Madison when he wrote the Bill of Rights? That would be George Mason's, hey, you didn't have to say that, but his Virginia Declaration of Rights and Thomas Jefferson's Virginia Statute for Religious Freedoms. Cool. Number 3, list one leading Federalist from Virginia. Hey, there's 2. There's the President of the Constitutional Convention and the Father of the Constitution. Names: the President, George Washington. The Father, James Madison. Great. Number 4, what did the Anti-Federalists demand which James Madison included in the Constitution? That would be the Bill of Rights. The Anti-Federalists demanded the Bill of Rights. How did you do? Morning. Hey, if you did well, that means keep it up, man. Let's do well on the next quiz. All right, here we go. Please write Federalists versus Democratic Republicans. 2 political parties get formed right after the Constitution is ratified. It's the Feds versus the Democratic Republicans. Hey, don't get them confused with the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. That'll just get too crazy in your mind. Pretend that the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists just died, bye. Then we have a new government. Now we get 2 political parties. One's the Federalist and one is the Democratic Republicans. Let's do the first one. You know, the Federalists believed in a strong national government to promote an industrial economy, to try to industrialize the United States of America. They were led by Alexander Hamilton. He wanted a national bank, the Bank of the United States, and John Adams, who would end up being the second president of the United States of America. So the Federalists had a lot of power, especially at first. They wanted the strong government. They were more of the big government side to promote an industrial economy. Now, on the other side of the Federalists were the Democratic Republicans. They believed in a weak national government, not strong, but weak, and an agricultural economy. They wanted a farm-based economy. They didn't want big business, big industry, and a big bank. They were led by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. Those are your 2 first big political parties. Beautiful. Got them. Hey, pause me if you still want to write, but if you're good, I'm good. Let's go. Next one. John Marshall from, where's he from? VA. From Virginia. Johnny Marshall sits in the Supreme Court as the most influential Chief Justice ever, in my opinion. Why? Why? Well, he was a Federalist Supreme Court Chief Justice whose decisions strengthened the power of the national governments. His decisions strengthened the power of the national governments. He's more of a big government guy. If there's a battle between the states and the national government always seems to win with John Marshall. Therefore, he strengthens the power of the national government of the states. Hey, I know what you're thinking, man. Give me a court case, baby. All right, let's do Marbury versus Madison. This is a, oh man, I don't have any keys on me. This is a key Supreme Court case, probably the most important Supreme Court case ever. Here we go. John Marshall's Supreme Court decision, which established judicial review. You must know that Marbury versus Madison established judicial review. What is judicial review? It's the power of the courts to declare a law unconstitutional. It means that if a law comes out and the Supreme Court thinks that law doesn't work with the Constitution, it doesn't fit what the Constitution has laid out, then we can rip it up. We can destroy it. We can declare it unconstitutional and make it null and void and throw it in the trash. And that gives the Supreme Court a lot of power. That's judicial review. I know what you're thinking. You haven't remembered that. Super Mario Rivers Masters, that is judicial review. Don't you worry, I just thought it would be way first. Always remember this. There's a lot of R's in Marbury. Judicial review. Premium or non-premium? Premium. Let's do another one. Let's write causes of the War of 1812. Let's get into the War of 1812. Let's get into the War of 1812. Hey, we already fought Great Britain. Now we're fighting them again. What got us fighting Great Britain? Well, British interference with American shipping. That's one thing. Great Britain would intercept our ships, especially our ships that were doing business with France, meaning they would pull their ships up to our ships, jump over into our ships, and take over American sailors, like adult kidnapping stuff. It was called impressment, and it was totally crazy. Really angered the United States. That's one thing they interfered with. The other thing was British interference with American western expansion. As the United States kept looking to go west, 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 Great Britain was encouraging Native Americans to attack the American settlers at a famous battle in Indiana Territory called the Battle of Tippecanoe. Great Britain's guns were found in possession of the Native Americans. So it's interference with two things: American shipping and American western expansion. The war is fought. America wins the war, which brings us to our last card. Outcomes of the War of 1812. The United States expands. The United States feels good about itself. Confirms the independence of the United States, right? Hey, big feelings of nationalism after winning the War of 1812. And a land claim in Oregon. I mean, think about this. The United States is like stretching all the way up here, northwest, going to Oregon. Hey, and then down here, right, they're coming and they're migrating to Florida too. So you got Americans migrating to Florida, you've got a land claim in Oregon, and you've got a United States of America that's feeling pretty darn good about themselves. Cool. Hey, quiz time. Let's do it. Last quiz, baby. 1 minute or 2 minutes. Hey, I'll let you decide. I think we should listen to By the Seaside. Okay. Take out a piece of paper. Stop. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. You ready? We just put down some questions, then we're done ski. Number 1. What did John Marshall's Supreme Court decisions do to the national government? I mean, like, how do they influence the national government? Cool. Beautiful. Hey, number 2. What is judicial review? What is it? And what court case established it? How did it get established, and what the heck is it? Cool. Very good. 3. List one cause of the War of 1812. There were 2 big ones. Give me one. I'm looking for one cause. Beautiful. And 4, list one outcome of the War of 1812. List one outcome of the War of 1812. All right? You ready? Let's do this. Number 1, what did John Marshall's Supreme Court decision do to the size of do to the national government? Strengthen the national government, right? That's a good answer. That's a correct answer. Strengthen the power of the national government. Made the national government more or stronger than the states. Okay? That's good answers. 2, what is judicial review? It is the power of the courts to declare a law unconstitutional. It is the power of the courts to rip up a law and throw it out. What court case established this? Marbury versus Madison established judicial review. Perfect. 3. List one cause of the War of 1812. There were 2. One was British interference with American shipping, and the other one was British interference with Western expansion. Sweet. Hey, 4. List one outcome of the War of 1812. There's a land claim in Oregon, or Americans migrated to Florida. Hey, got another video done, baby. You're ready for showtime, aren't you? Hey, watch some more videos, and showtime will be coming at you quick.